Good day, everyone. This is Ivan Belostenko for Against the Tide TV. Our guest today is Manyan Ng, CEO of Epoch Times Europe. It's an honor to have you back again with us. Thank you for joining us for the conference this past summer. So it's great to hear again from you and hear the depth of insight that you have with regard to China. So thank you for joining us again.
It's great for me to be with you too.
So I wanted to ask you about, first of all, the recent investment agreement with China that the European Union has struck. The deal was strongly pushed by Angela Merkel, who ignored the request by Joe Biden's team in the US for consultations. Why is Merkel pushing the EU into the hands of communist China, do you think?
Well, I can only guess. Yeah, I guess Angela Merkel has a strong economic interest to push through this because Germany has a very strong economic tie with China. And, just as an example, 40% of all Volkswagen cars are sold in China. And many of them are produced in China through heavy investment of Germany. So I guess this is one of the reasons. But there may be other reasons which only she knows, yeah, because I understand that this negotiation has been going on for 7 years. Yeah, in 7 years, there were many issues such as human rights issue, absolutely no use of labor camp for the products sold to Europe, and that has been a kind of obstacle for signing it. And now suddenly, just because Xi Jinping make a show by saying, "Okay, I agree, I promise." No product will be produced in labor camps. Yeah, and for me, how much is the Chinese promise worth? I mean, the promise from a party boss for me is worth nothing. I mean, they promise 50 years never change Hong Kong systems, and everything is changed now. So, but all this, I mean, Angela Merkel should be aware of, and still should go ahead with that. So there must be some other reason than the normal economic interest, I guess. And some people speculate it is because of her way of thinking, her ideological nature, because of her background when she was a child, when she was a young lady, and so on. Her grew up in the former communist Germany. And has been studying very well in a school in Germany run by the Soviet communist. So maybe there has some role there too.
Yeah, that's quite possible. I also want to ask you, during the 17+1 summit, recent summit, some countries, for example, the Baltic states, did not send their representatives, the top representatives, presidents, nor prime ministers for the meeting with Xi Jinping. But Poland was present, was represented by our president, President Andrzej Duda. Do you think that, what are the Baltic states, would they be right in distancing themselves from the cooperation with communist China, in your view?
Yeah, I think, there is a fundamental I would say mistake, actually, I dare to say. There's a fundamental mistake done by many European countries. Yeah, Poland is not alone, but Poland is still doing that mistake. And that is, we have had a China strategy or China policy, which is based on interest, based on economic interest, and not based on universal values. Yeah, and this is a problem. I mean, we should consider both, of course. I mean, economy is still important, yeah? But we can never have just a pure economic interest-oriented China policy, because then you will fall into the trap of the Chinese Communist Party, because in the last 30 years, China economy has grown due to a very successful deception against the West and also very hardworking Chinese people. So there's a huge amount of money generated, and with this money, they are, so to say, running a lot of temptation and deception. So I really wish that, like I mentioned before, a promise from the Chinese Communist Party leaders is really not much worth. So I hope a Polish president and other Polish leaders should really think twice and think long term and try to, so to say, go back to a China policy or foreign policy in general, not just based on interest, economic interest, political interest, and other interests, but also based on universal value, freedom, human rights, rule of law, democracy. We have to judge. We have to based on such scale, to decide how close we go into partnership with another government.
Mm-hmm. Let's move on to the coronavirus. Recently, USA and UK shared a deep concern about the WHO fact-finding mission of the origin of COVID-19 in China. We also know that the WHO investigation is tainted by conflict of interest, as one of the investigators, a British zoologist, Dr. Peter Daszak, has very close ties with the Wuhan Institute of Virology. It all shows that the WHO report on the virus origin might be just another propaganda written by the CCP. What do you think about that? Is that possible?
Well, interesting question. Maybe the most straightforward answer to this question is the Chinese Communist Party in the last 20 years has intensified their strategy of infiltrating global organization. So, and WHO, World Health Organization, WTO, World Trade Organization, Interpol, United Nations Human Rights Council, and so on, many global organizations are target for Chinese infiltration. So, I don't need to go into the details. I just want to remind everyone that WHO probably is well infiltrated by Chinese Communist Party. For example, the General Secretary of WHO has an extremely close relationship with Chinese Communist Party, not only in the time of Xi Jinping, already when this, I think, his name is Dr. Tedros, when he was making his political career as I think he was health minister in Ethiopia and also foreign minister in Ethiopia. And at that time, Chinese Communist Party support him already to make his political career. And maybe not only being thankful to the Chinese Communist Party who has helped him to make a political career, and actually also China also supported him to become the General Secretary of WHO. Maybe there are also other things that make him softened. Yeah. So the problem is, WHO has been rather helping China to cheat the world than really to be a kind of authoritative, neutral, and reliable organs to find out the truth. So for me, I mean, it doesn't help if they can send 10 delegations to China. When they work together with China, how can they find out the truth? And I mean, you remember for a year ago when the whole pandemic started, the WHO General Secretary was telling the whole world, China is doing a great job. China, the whole world should learn from China. But we know that Chinese statistics are fake. Yeah, Chinese statistic is not to serve scientific research, to serve a better understanding of the virus, of the pandemic, and so on, is to serve their politics. Yeah, when they want the whole world to think that, you know, this political system in China is more superior than any other country, then they underreport the number of infected, the number of deaths. It's as simple as that. And because China has zero press freedom and zero freedom of speech, so they can lie. They can lie big, they can lie many times, they can lie many years. This is the whole problem. So what happened with the recent visit to China is just a part of the same show.
Let's talk about vaccines for the COVID-19 pandemic for a moment. Taiwan's health minister revealed that Germany's BioNTech pharmaceutical company has called off its coronavirus vaccine deal with Taiwan due to pressures from China. And also during the 17+1 summit, Xi Jinping said that China is open to vaccine cooperation with Eastern Europe. What game do you think China is playing with these vaccines?
Well, it's very simple. China, I mean the Chinese Communist regime, they classify all countries in a scale, you know, from enemy to friends, right? And Taiwan is not a friend, rather enemy. Yeah, and Eastern Europe is in another position in the scale, not enemy, yeah, but also maybe not the best friend, but a potential friend. That means, according to their judgment, by giving some economic interest, economic candies, yeah, to Eastern Europe, by giving some advantage to them, they may become our friend in our fight against those who are not our friends. And not our friend, basically, I would say still, I mean, in general, USA and also Western Europe, most of them, you cannot say they are friends of CCP. They want to make business and make some money, but they are still very careful not to let the Chinese communists to come too close. So Eastern Europe is in the category of, you know, we should get them on our side, and that's why. This is why they treat Taiwan and Eastern Europe so different.
And what about U.S.? Because we saw with Trump being the president, there was quite almost a full-blown war with U.S. But now with Biden, and he's still trying to pretend that he's going to be tough on the CCP. Do you think it's possible, or is it just a show for people not to worry?
Well, I mean, there's a clear difference between Trump and Biden. I mean, it goes without saying. Yeah? But the great thing with Trump is, during his 4 years, he has raised the awareness of the danger of CCP in the world. Yeah, we have to understand that during the time of, you know, from President Bill Clinton, Bush, and Obama, and all these years, yeah, the world was sleeping. The world. Majority of people think at something, oh, China is, you know, is great, is developing, is getting stronger, they are going to take over America, and then other thing, oh, they are harmless, they can't do much, and so on and so on. Some may say, oh, I don't like communists, but, you know, the Chinese are actually no longer communists, and all these silly belief. So Trump woke up a lot of people. Well, he's still doing it. He's still waking up. So, and Biden, well, you know, I can't trust him too much as an anti-communist person. Yeah, because he has had also a kind of a too close relationship to Xi Jinping. He helped Xi Jinping to avoid a coup against Xi Jinping already when Joe Biden was the vice president of America during Obama time. Yeah, because, you know, a high-ranking Chinese official ran into the American consulate and gave the American a lot of very secret information about someone is organizing a coup to bring down Xi Jinping. So Xi Jinping is extremely thankful that Joe Biden had a 5 hours talk under 4 eyes with he and Xi Jinping. I think it was 2013. Yeah. So they have an unusually good relationship, and also Joe Biden's son has done a big business in China, getting $1.5 billion credit from the Bank of China, and all this. So I can't believe that he is someone, from his heart really want to, contain China or to contain the communist regime. But he cannot overturn everything what President Trump did, because he also has to consider his power. His power also comes from people. After all, he knows 75 million Americans voted for Trump. Yeah, he actually got only something like 65 or 60 million. But again, you can make statistics. So official statistics say he got 80 million. Yeah, but he knows. It doesn't matter who get more or less. 75 million people voted for Trump, so he has to be careful. And also, one very important factor is 90% of the military, the soldiers and the generals, are on the side of Trump. They think Trump is a patriot. So, and for that, Biden has to be very careful not to let the CCP come too close and get too much. So this is my belief. So that's why he will continue some of Trump's policy against China or against CCP. Yeah, but he wants to change it. But he has to be careful. I mean, look, he has turned back this banning of TikTok and WeChat, this Chinese internet app, but he hasn't changed the sanction against the high-ranking Chinese official. He haven't revert the defining of Chinese government being carrying genocide against the Uyghurs. Yeah, so there are many things are still there, and he still claimed that he would support Taiwan, which is also a very important statement. And so I think he is doing his own balance in politics.
Mm-hmm. And what about Europe? Do you think it will abandon the alliance with US against China and turn to an alliance with the CCP and the rest of the globalists like Russia and other countries like that?
Well, you see, as I mentioned, the whole world make a big mistake, including Western Europe. A lot of foreign policy are interest-oriented, interest-based policy, and forget about all the universal value and so on. Now, when more and more people wake up, after all, we still have a democratic system in Western Europe. The members of parliaments, they still have to, or they still consider the opinion of the people, because otherwise they don't get the votes. So when more and more people understand that this CCP are just cheating us, and they were able to cheat us because we only consider economic interest. But if we also consider the moral part of it, the universal value, then they will have totally different view about what sort of relationship we should have with communist China. So I think in Western Europe, at least, or Europe as a whole, culturally, we have a certain, how should I say, embedded moral force, because major part of Europe is Christian. Christianity has created a very strong moral force, although, unfortunately, some people who claim to represent Christianity are not behaving, but Christianity in itself is still a very important pillar for the moral or morality of the European people. So if the European people do not totally give up this ancient and really stable and powerful tradition of Christianity, then I think most Europeans will find out there is more thing in common with Americans when it comes to universal value than with the communist China. Yeah, not the people in China, but the regime in China. So when we find out that, then we should all understand no partnership will work if you do not have a common value.
You make it sound like Christianity and biblical values are the West's greatest weapon. Would you agree with this statement?
Partly, yes. Actually, morality is the central thing. You see, for 50 years ago, if someone talk about morality in Europe, doesn't matter which European country, at least in Western European country, which was not under communist control, they were quite normal to talk about morality. It's normal to teach the children to be a good person, to be honest and so on, to be helpful and so on. Today, in the last 50 years, we have turned our back to the teaching of Christianity and other good teaching. Yeah, and that is, we were teaching children you have to be smart. The more money you can make, the better you are a person. But it was never like that just 50 years ago. And Europeans must go back to their original position. They have to learn from their own history. They make a mistake by paying too much consideration on economic success and other, getting power, getting money. There's nothing wrong with power, nothing wrong with money. But without driving or using this power and money by a high morality, then it is very dangerous. So that, in a way, I agree. Yeah, this is the strongest weapon of Europe.
Mm-hmm. And what about the greatest weakness of the CCP then? What would that be in your view?
Well, you see, like a person, very often your weakness is in the same time your strength. Yeah, some people may have a strength of very quality aware, yeah? But that can become his weakness because he may spend too much effort to go for the perfection and that run down the whole company, okay? So China or Chinese Communist Party, you know what strength they have? Their most powerful weapon in the past 50 years, yeah, is deception. They are extremely good in deception, cheating the whole world. They can cheat short term, they can cheat long term, and incredible deception they have been doing. But exactly because of this dishonest nature, this cheating nature of them, it is also their biggest weakness. Why? Two reasons. In order to make this deception work, they have to make sure that at least the majority of the Chinese people has to forget about morality, being honest. Otherwise, how can you carry out the deception? Xi Jinping cannot do the deception by himself. He needs millions of Chinese to join the big deception project, right? Now, so when you have say 60% of the population are also being dishonest and deceptive, you know what happened? They will start to cheat each other, which they have been doing. And one day, this will become a big internal fight. They kill each other. So that's a weakness. And the second thing why I call this a big weakness is when European, American, and many other countries in the world, the people there, when they see through this deception, they will say, enough is enough. I'm not going to believe what you say. I will verify everything what you say. yeah, before I believe it. And that is the end of CCP.
And final question, do you think it's a good idea to boycott the Winter Olympics of 2022 in Beijing?
I think so. I think so. Usually, when the opponents to this opinion is, oh, we should not mix up politics with sport. But hey, I used to tell people, my friends, who is the first one to mix sport politics? That's Communist China and all communist country. Yeah. But right now, I mean, we have the strongest communist power is China. Yeah. They have been running sport from the very beginning as a politics. They never tried to popularize sport so that really want to have a better health for the people. This is not their attention, their emphasis. Their emphasis is how to find all the young children who can be the best in the world in order to get many gold medals and silver medals. So I used to say, China do not have many good sporters, yeah? But they have a very well-trained gold medal army, okay? And why they do it? Because they want to conquer the world. Remember, they don't call it world revolution now. Now they call it community of mankind for the common future. Yeah, sounds very nice. Doesn't matter whether they call it world revolution or humankind community. It's the same thing. That is hegemony of the world. Yeah, that's what they want. So they use sport to glorify, to promote nationalism inside China and to show the power of China outside China. So they have been using sport for political reason and only political reason, nothing else. So they should be the last one to say that don't mix up politics with sport. So that's why, and I say to protest, to have Olympic in China is actually good for the Chinese people. The Chinese people should understand that if you have serious human rights abuses, the world doesn't accept it. So you have to rethink. You have to put pressure on your government, improve human rights. This is good for the Chinese people. So this is my comment.
Manyan, thank you very much for being with us today and sharing your insight and knowledge once again. May God bless the freedom-loving Chinese people around the world, and we wish you to rid yourself and the world as well from the CCP, and we'll continue supporting you as best as we can.
Thank you, and God bless you too.
Thank you. Our guest today was Manyan Ng, CEO and the board member of the Epoch Times Europe. My name is Ivan Bostenko, and this is Against Tide TV.